From the very infamous siege of Caria to the siege of Fort Pitt, we take a look at 10 historical, biological, and chemical attacks of the history of the world.
With me and my cousin
Yeah.
narrating.
And me.
Today, and Hunter are narrators for today, so let's just go get this over with. Number 10. During the siege of Caria, during the First Sacred War, or to say the Syrian War, during the Amphicytic League of Delphi and the city of Caria in Greece, chemical weaponry was employed to devastating effect. The war broke out as a result of Caria's constant assault on the pilgrims, passing through their lands to Delphi. The League began their assault of the city by first poisoning its water supply with the toxic plant hellebore. The plant's high toxicity can cause vertigo, swelling of the tongue and throat, a feeling of suffocation, severe gastrointestinal problems, and cardiac arrest, resulting in death. The plant did its job well, and the majority of the city was struck with severe bouts of diarrhea. The besiegers were able to walk into the city without facing any resistance.
Number 9. The Deir Europos in 256 BC. When the Roman army is at the gates, a defender will use just about any method or means to keep them at bay. Sazen soldiers at Deir Europos of modern Syria used bitumen ignited with sulfur when within a tunnel the Romans were using to attempt to enter the city. The gas was so effective it killed 19 Roman soldiers in under 2 minutes. The city was soon remained uninhabited to this day. The city was soon abandoned following a siege and remained uninhabited to this day, making it an important archaeological site due to the preservation of buildings and artifacts. Due to this site's preservation, archaeologists found chemical residues of sulfur crystals, as well as the remains of the Roman soldiers plus one Sazen, likely the individual who deployed the sulfur bitumen consumed.
Its concoction. Number 8. During the Third Mithridatic War in 73 and 63 BC, the poisoner king, who is named as Mithridates, poisoned his mother and took various poisons himself to acquire an immunity over time. During his ongoing conflict with Rome, he often employed the use of poison arrows to thwart his enemies. During the Third Mithridatic War, he used special arrows dipped in snake venom that would break off when they struck, leaving the metal tip coated with venom in the wound. The toxin would be fatal, but would take days of agony to kill a man. While retreating in modern-day Georgia, Mithridates left poisoned honey for the Romans to find. When consumed, the men would hallucinate and could even die from the consumption. There were not many casualties resulting from the honey, but such a large number of soldiers were high and hallucinating from the poison that were useless for nearly a week.
Number 7. The Siege of Hatra in 198 AD. When Semptus Severus of the Imperial Roman Legion attacked Hatra in 198 AD, his soldiers scoured the walls to a very innovative weapon, terracotta pots filled with deadly scorpions. The men scaling the walls had the pots break open on and around them, releasing the scorpions as well as other stinging insects such as wasps or bees. Some of the men died from the stings, while others became ill and perished due to the combination of the hot sun and the bites and stings. Scorpion bombs proved incredibly effective, and Septimus retreated, that what remained of his army defeated. Number 6.
During the Battle of Tuatana in 1155, the Holy Roman Emperor named Frederick I, known as Barbarossa, assaulted Tuatana during his Italian campaign. Now, Barbarossa personally undertook the attack of the city so that he could instigate their Milanese allies following their submission to his dominance of the peninsula. He poisoned wells, bringing about numerous problems for the inhabitants of the city, the worst of which was a famine that crippled the population. This concluded with an ongoing drought, which made the unpotable well water an even greater problem. Barbarossa allowed the citizens to leave Tortona, and then he burned it to the ground. Modern residents of the city reenact the siege during the yearly celebration of the history of the town, which draws tourists from all over the world to enjoy the festivities.
Number 5. The Battle of Sandwich of 1217. To repel the invading French fleet, the English Navy, under the command of Baron William d'Albany, used quicklime, or calcium oxide, which he stocked aboard his vessels. He purposely moved his ships upwind of the French and then let loose with the noxious compound into the wind so that the French were almost immediately blinded by a large cloud encompassing their ships. Unable to defend themselves, they became an easy target for the English Navy. The English sailors quickly stormed the French ships and slaughtered all but the knights due to the ransom they could receive. D'Albany had long maintained a stock of calcium oxide on his vessels for just such an attack, but the Battle of Sandwich may have been the first time he was able to deploy it. Number 4.
During the siege of Kaffa in 1346, the invading Tartar army, part of the Mongolian army of Genghis Khan, suffered an outbreak of the bubonic plague, also known as the Black Death. Now, I know this was about a couple years before, well, I should say during the time of the Black Death. Just do remember that. But never wanted to let an opportunity to devastate their enemy pass them by, the Tatars flung the corpses of their fallen plague stricken brethren over the city walls to purposely infect their enemy. The plan worked, and the inhabitants of Kaffa were forced to surrender their city to the Mongol invaders. It was believed that some of the survivors of the initial attack left Kaffa for Constantinople and other ports in the Mediterranean, which contributed to the pandemic known as the Black Death.
Number 3.
Naples, Italy, 1495.
Spanish soldiers engaged in fighting throughout southern Italy used a method of biological warfare against their enemies that worked somewhat well. They added the blood of people affected with leprosy, the bottles of wine they sold to the Italians. This was particularly dastardly due to the common perception that leprosy was a curse and punishment from God due to the disfiguring effects of the disease. The method of biological warfare played the long game due to the manner in which leprosy spreads the infection in long term and can remain asymptomatic in a person's body for between 5 and 20 years. This was not a very effective method of debilitating enemy soldiers, and was likely done more for the stigma associated with leprosy than anything else. Number 2.
The Siege of Groningen, 1672. During the Franco-Dutch War, Christoph Bernhard van Galen, the Bishop of Munster, used belladonna alkaloids containing with the various forms of explosives and incendiary devices against his enemy. A trope of belladonna is more commonly known as deadly nightshade and is extremely toxic. Ingesting the alkaloids from the berries at least can cause severe delirium and hallucinations. Bengalin's use of deadly nightshade in warfare led to the first international agreement between nations called the Strasbourg Agreement to ban the use of perfidious and odorous toxic devices. The Strasbourg Agreement came into being primarily due to the use of poisoned bullets employed by Van Gurion 3 years prior. The Strasbourg Agreement would remain the only such document until the 1925 Geneva Protocol, which included the banning of biological weapons.
Number 1.
The
Siege of Fort Pitt in 1763. An outbreak of smallpox on the Ohio Valley was a result of an attack on the local natives in 1763 by the British colonists besieged with Fort Pitt. Native American emissaries to the fort received gifts which came out of a smallpox infirmary with the hopes of spreading the disease to their populations. The emissaries pleaded with the colonists to vacate the fort due to the overwhelming odds against them, but their attempts met with refusal and ultimately their deaths. General Emerson said on July 8th, "Could it not be contrived to send the smallpox among those disaffected tribes of Indians? We must, on this occasion, use every stratagem in our power to reduce them." The British plan was very successful in deteriorating native aggression due to the overwhelming infection spreading through their communities as a result of the attack. The spread of infection did not stop at Fort Pitt. The Shawnee, Cherokee, Chickasaw, and Choctaw tribes tried to carry the disease throughout the southeast. Thousands were infected as a result of the siege at Fort Pitt.
So, what do you think, guys? What do you think is the most infamous attack you guys have really ever heard of? Also, so let us know in the comments what top 10s we should do next, and see you guys next time.
In the next video!
Oh, and please don't forget to subscribe to the Lone Top 10s and the Lone Boys. I'll leave links in the description where you can find the Lone Boys channel. Alright, don't forget to like this video, and like I said, let us know in the comments what top 10 we should do next.
See you all in the next video!
Yeah, thank you guys, and see you guys next time.